What is going on, everybody? Taylor here.
Hello, I'm Jacob.
You are.
I am.
You are. We are going to do something we haven't done on the channel before.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting.
It is.
We are going to choose to start this at the optimal time, which is week 3.
Yep.
We're going to dive right into week 3 of the NFL with our picks.
Not only are we doing week 3, we're missing a game.
After Thursday night has already happened.
We're missing a game.
Yeah. So that's how we're going to do this.
Yep.
We do a fantasy league, both of us, and we also do the lovely NFL Pick'em league. But we thought it'd be fun to get on camera, do our picks, kind of talk about some of the games, and just have a grand old time.
So to give you some context, you've been following the NFL all your life.
All my life.
I've been following. I knew about the NFL and the rules, and I watched a few games here and there before I met you.
Yeah.
Then I met you, and that's when the 3 a.m. morning started, and we got up.
You met me. You came to the US of A, and we went to an actual game.
Yeah.
And
then we started the 3 a.m. mornings and actually watching the games live.
Sunday night football for us is Monday 3 a.m. football for us.
Yes.
So that's what we do in this house. We're crazy people who get up at 3 in the morning or 4, depending on daylight savings time.
I mean, to be fair, I'm the crazy one, and then I wake you up, or I'll put it on in the bedroom for you to wake up to, and then eventually you'll get up and come out and sit with me.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes you get up at 3 a.m.
Sometimes I just get up because I'm just like, whatever.
It's 3 a.m. in the morning.
My sleep schedule's going to be a mess anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But that's a little bit of background. As I think we should also mention, just as we go into this, for some full disclosure, I grew up in Arizona. I am an Arizona Cardinals fan, have been my whole life. Like, that's just what I grew up with. I grew up in a house where my dad is diehard America's team, Dallas Cowboys. My mom is from Chicago, so she likes the Bears. And my other dad is a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. But I grew up born and raised in Arizona, and I chose that as my team. So that is my number one. I have a couple of teams that I support, but the Cardinals are my number one.
Yes. The only reason I picked the Seahawks as my first team because the person who introduced me to the NFL was my friend who was a diehard Patriots supporter. And the game that he introduced me to, that we both sat down and watched for the very first time, was that Patriots and Seahawks game. So naturally, I have to go for the opposite team as my friend. Yeah. So I was going for the Seahawks. So
you chose pain and misery
immediately. And so then I started following the Seahawks, and then I met you.
Yeah.
And essentially because I now have a connection to Arizona and I now have a reason to support Arizona, I've started. I've started to support the Cardinals, and the Cardinals have really become my team.
We still like the Seahawks. We still watch their game.
Yeah.
Like we're still like. To me, it's like I like the Seahawks, but they can't be better than the Cardinals. They can be second best in the division, and I'll be fine.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah.
But that's just a little bit of background as we go into this. If you can't tell, we're not a anti-Patriots channel. We're just anti-Patriots when Tom Brady is their channel. So we'll get that out of the way as well.
Yeah. I mean, I don't hate Tom Brady as anywhere near as much as you do.
No, that's very hard to do.
Yeah,
that takes a lot.
But I am very much looking forward to the day he retires.
Yeah, we were born in this cursed timeline where he's played football for basically as long as I've been alive, and I've never been able to escape it. So that'll be a glorious day. Yeah. All right, before we jump into these picks, Thursday night game went pretty much how I expected it to go. Carolina Texans.
Yeah.
What are you?
I was fully expecting Panthers to win this game. I have a theory that Panthers are probably going to go 7-0 for the start of the season and then not make the playoffs. I think that's kind of what's going to happen because they have a bitch of a run home. Absolute bitch of a run home.
They do. Without getting into any controversy, what are your thoughts on the Texans? Like, without actually diving into any of the stuff.
I think the Texans are in full rebuild mode.
I think so too.
And the organization is a complete and utter mess. And I think that they have a long path to rebuild before they will ever be really considered a playoff side again. I think Tyrod Taylor is probably the unluckiest man in football.
Probably. I said that he got my vote for
sure.
And also, not only did they bring in arguably the unluckiest quarterback in football to be part of their team where the luck has continued, but also they yeeted out their, in my opinion, their three best players before this point. Watson is sitting there just because we won't get into that. They literally came to the Cardinals and were like, would you like a gift?
Yeah,
for the cost of nothing?
For a second rounder, would you like DeAndre Hopkins?
We'll just literally give him to you. That's fine. Which I still feel like I'm living in a fever dream and that didn't actually happen. But then they were also like, hey, do you also want some JJ Watt to go along with that?
Yeah, which again, like that one felt like that very much felt like go because we are in full rebuild mode and we feel bad for you.
Well, you don't actually know that story.
No.
Okay. There's a whole story there, and that's definitely not
okay. Fair
happened.
Enough.
But yeah, so I came into this, especially since Darnold is now free of the Jets curse.
Yep.
He has left that behind him. He can be free and bask in not being trapped in that organization. So I don't even care about the Panthers, and I don't particularly care about Darnold, but to me, any quarterback that escapes the Jets system, I just want good things to happen to them. So he's now on a 3-0 streak, which is almost like, I'm pretty sure he only ever won 4 games like in a season with the Jets, something like that. So I'm rooting for him. All right. Are you ready?
Let's start off.
Let's kick this off.
Our first game of the round is on Monday Night Football or Monday Football. That's what I'm calling it. Monday Morning Football. Colts versus Titans. Colts are 0-2. Titans are 1-1.
This is an interesting
Taylor, who are you picking?
So this is an interesting one. The first game that the Titans played is probably my favorite game that's happened this season so far because everyone was expecting the Cardinals to go into Tennessee and get absolutely rolled by the Titans, which did not happen.
Mm-hmm.
Then they had a very interesting comeback win against Seattle, which was a mess of a game.
Yep.
The Colts, on the other hand, have a quarterback who literally his mission is to go onto the field and try to be killed.
Yeah, try and get injured.
He has no sense of like protection of his own body. He has no it's basically like a suicide mission every time he goes out onto the field. Mr. Carson Wentz sprained both ankles last game. I'm fascinated to see what happens with the Colts, but I definitely don't think they're going to pull out a win here. I think the Titans take this one.
I agree. I think the Colts without Carson Wentz and the Titans with Derrick Henry apparently waking the fuck back up.
Yeah.
I think Titans definitely pull out the win here. Definitely.
Yep. So I think sadly the Colts will start 0-3.
Yep.
And Titans will up to 2-1.
Yep. All right, moving on. We have the Falcons and the Giants. Hey, someone's getting a win.
This is gonna be the game where this is my least favorite kind of game where it's called nobody wants to win.
Yes. I am. I think there is a real chance Giants can maybe win one game this year. Maybe. So, and this isn't it. So, I am going to pick the Falcons. I think once Matt Ryan and the receiver they got, Kyle Pitt, actually start linking up, I think they're going to start, that offense is really going to start actually improving and playing really well. So, I think I am going to go Falcons. And I think this could be the game. It's because that Giant defense is terrible.
Yeah, I also am going to give it to the Falcons here, but mostly just because I trust Matt Ryan a lot more than I trust Daniel Jones when it comes to, maybe the defenses aren't going to be great, or maybe there's going to be some weird stuff that happens because the Falcons and the Giants are both teams that just like snatch defeat from the hands of victory. And so I just trust Matt Ryan more, that when they need something to happen, he can make it happen. Daniel Jones has had a horrific time, and I think he's talented.
Yeah.
But he just can't get over that line. Things have been a mess. And I don't know why I have more confidence in the Falcons, because they are literally like the definition of blowing it.
Yeah.
But I'm
Quinn's gone.
Yeah, that's true. I'm gonna say the Falcons get their first win here of the season.
All right. Next up, we have Chargers versus Chiefs.
I am excited about this game.
All right.
They're both 1-1 going into this game.
Both coming off losses.
Which is fascinating. I am actually going to pick the Chargers to win this game. I know that's not a popular opinion, but I do think that divisional games can get a bit wacky. I think the Chargers have taken the Chiefs to task quite a few times since Justin Herbert came in, and since they've gotten some of the recruits they have in the offense. So I think this is going to be a showdown for the ages, like it usually is when you have Mahomes and Herbert going up against each other, the few times we've got to see that. Yeah. And I think... I don't know. I just have a feeling it's going to be one of those divisional things, and I think by the slimmest of margins, like the Chargers are going to uncharger themselves, and in the last 90 seconds of the game, they're going to get that
pull
win.
Off the miracle.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that there is nothing scarier than a wounded wolf, and I think the Chiefs just got kicked while they're down. I think that while their run defense absolutely terrifies me because of how terrible it is, that I think the Chiefs are going to come out and really and put on a bit of a show. I think it is going to be a bit of a shootout. Yeah. But I do think the Chiefs pull off the win.
I do think that is a good point, though, because to me, the dangerous thing is you can't, against the Chargers, you have to have a run defense.
Yeah.
Because when they played them last year in week 2, they got exposed so fast for not being able to defend that kind of scheme. So I'm fascinated to see what happens there with this, because I think the matchups just make for a fascinating game. Yeah. But also, I think this could be a huge turning point in the Chiefs' season if they lose this game.
If they lose this game, then we could... I mean, I still think Chiefs are going to win the division.
I do too. I'm not saying that.
Yeah, but I think that this could be they're vulnerable.
They have weaknesses.
They're human.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have Bengals at Steelers.
Where are you going?
I think. Look, it's still September. Ben's body hasn't completely given up on him yet in September. So I'm gonna go Steelers because that Bengals defense and that Bengals O-line are just horrifically bad. So I'm going Steelers for this week.
Yeah, as much as I want to support the Bengals and Joe Burrow because I think he's extremely talented, they just haven't done anything to fix the O-line, which they really, really need to do. The defense isn't good. And even though the Steelers can be rocky at times and not put in the best performance, I think even with a shaky performance, they can take the win here.
Yeah. All right. Moving on, we have the Bears at Browns.
Ooh. Mr. Justin Fields is going to be starting this week.
Yes, Justin Fields starts his first starting game.
What a game to start.
Yeah.
I feel I'm excited to see him start because I want to see what he's made of. And personally, I'm of the opinion that when you have a new quarterback, like if they are going to be your new quarterback, you just you just throw them in there and see what they can do and learn. Because to me, that's the best way that you learn.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to see what he can do. Both teams are 1-1 going into this game. I do think that the Browns are going to take it just because I do think they're the more polished team overall.
Yeah.
I just think that when it comes down to it, even though they do make some silly mistakes here and there, I think when it comes down to it, it's just the experience is just and the talent of the roster is just going to get them over the line.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Browns as well, although I actually think it's going to be a lot closer than a lot of people are predicting. Browns last week concerned me against the Texans.
Yeah.
I know they eventually kind of woke up, but that first half they were a little sloppy.
Yeah.
Texans got 14 points on them in the
early,
and they were sloppy. Bears aren't a great team either. They were not fantastic against the Bengals last week either. So I think they are kind of throwing Justin Fields into the deep end because Matt Nagy wants to save his job.
Yeah, which could go one of two ways.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to go Browns, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than people are expecting. All right, next up we have Ravens at Lions. The Ravens coming off a really impressive win against the Chiefs.
That was a great game.
Lions coming off a strong showing
against Green Bay.
They started well.
They did. They started off, and I went, "Oh,
yeah,
okay."
Then Packers woke up.
Yeah, and the Packers were like, "No."
Yeah, then the Packers woke up,
and Goff had some interesting moments towards the end of the game.
This to me is probably going to be a bit of a blowout. I think this is probably. This could be ugly.
I don't think this is going to be an easy one for the Lions, and I don't know if they've really shown me anything yet this season that tells me that they're really going to put up a fight. They might, to start off with, it might be like the Green Bay game if the Ravens come in and they're not fully tuned in, but I don't think they'll be able to hold out for a win.
Yeah. All right, next up we have Saints at Patriots.
This, to me, is one of the most interesting matchups of the week. They're both 1-1 going into this game. And we've seen both good and bad things from both of these sides.
Mm-hmm.
And we're still, to me, at the point in the season where we don't really know what we're getting fully out of these two teams. So I'm still like, my gut is telling me the Patriots are going to take the win here, but I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be scrappy, and I wouldn't be surprised if it goes the other way. Mm-hmm. But I'm just. I don't really have a reason other than my gut is just telling me I think the Patriots are going to take it.
I've got Patriots. My gut's telling me Patriots as well. While I'm curious because last weekend I thought the Saints weren't great at all. I thought they were actually fairly terrible against the Panthers. I didn't think they were very good at all. So
the scoreline last week surprised me.
Yeah. So and whereas in the Patriots, again, they were playing the Jets, but I do think that Mac Jones is starting to show that he can play and he's making the smart decisions in terms of where he's putting the ball.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go Patriots, but in a shootout. I think it's actually going to be a very close game.
Yeah.
All right, Cardinals at Jags.
So we've got a 2-0 team going against an 0-2 team.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. For me, when the Cardinals play a game, I always pick them because if I don't pick them and they win, that's like. I can't do that to myself, but I do genuinely think that they are going to beat this Jags team. Yeah. I know that last week when they played the Vikings, it was a bit of a fluke win, but we've had so many of those go the other way for us where we get like a fluke loss or like a last minute loss that I'm willing to take it. I'll just take the win at this point. But I do think we've shown some promising things. There are things we need to clean up, some discipline issues that we've always had that somehow apparently we just can't clean up. But I do think that we're playing relatively well. I think we can improve on what we've been doing and put in a good game. The Jaguars this year haven't really impressed me all that much. To me, they've just been kind of the team that they've always been, where they're just kind of put in mediocre to meh performances but there's just not much I've seen from them where I feel like they can go against this Cardinals team and really take a win.
Yeah, so I think this is going to be a close game. And the only reason I say that is I don't really love the Cardinals defense.
I do.
It's getting better. Like, it is definitely getting better than it was last year.
I like it against this Jags team.
And the only reason I say that is last week Jags played the Broncos, who do have a pretty good defense, who have a really good defense. Week before against Texans, you've got the first game jitters. You've got, it's first game in the NFL for basically half the freaking squad.
Yeah.
So that one, okay, we'll see. I am going to pick Cardinals, but I do think this is going to be closer than people are expecting, because I think Trevor Lawrence could actually have a half-decent game, even though he hasn't been living up to the expectations that we're putting on him at the moment.
If it's not a close game, what do I get?
Slap me across the face.
I don't want to slap you.
I don't know.
Okay, well, you got to think of something, because I think you're very wrong, and I think I deserve something if you disrespect the Cardinals in that way.
I will go buy you something.
Okay.
I'll go buy you some chocolate or something.
Great.
All right, next we have Washington at Bills.
So this, again, we got 2 1-1 teams going up against each other. I honestly think that even though the Bills had a very shaky start in week 1, I don't think Washington stands a chance in this game.
No.
I think Josh Allen's going to get out there and ball out the way he usually does. And even though Washington has a pretty good defense, I just don't see Heineke putting on the kind of performance that Josh Allen does.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at. Week 1 for me this year was against the Bills. One, they were playing against a very good Steelers team, because Steelers in January and October are a very good team. It's November, December when they start to fade.
Yeah,
because Ben's body can't handle it. It just starts to fade in December. So Bills won a very, very good team, a playoff-bound team in January. Not January, sorry, in September. Washington, I don't think, is a playoff-bound team at the moment, and I think that I do think Bills will win this and win this fairly comfortably. Next, we have Jets at Broncos.
Again, I'm pretty confident in my pick with this one. The Jets have not looked good at all. Like, I haven't seen really anything promising from the Jets so far this season, and I think the Broncos have actually looked fairly good for the most part. They've been putting on some pretty good performances. Their defense has been good. Bridgewater has been good. Like, I don't think that they're going to make the playoffs or anything, and I don't think that once they start playing the more difficult teams, they're going to be as successful. But I definitely think they're going to get a pretty solid win over the Jets here.
Yeah, my one caveat to this match is if Zach Wilson can start actually learning to go for the easy, boring passes,
the checkdowns,
they got a chance here.
Yeah,
they got a real chance here if they can go for checkdowns, if they can go for the smart passes, and he's not throwing 40-yarders that are just intercepted because he wants the big play.
Well, and I think that's inherently a problem with being drafted to the Jets.
Yeah.
Because you're at the bottom, you feel like you've got all the pressure on the world is in the quarterback to make something happen, to make this team look good.
Yeah.
And that's tough for a rookie.
Yeah, and so I think that whereas in Bridgewater is doing that. He's not being flashy. He's not Patrick Mahomes at the Broncos, but he is doing enough to get them the wins, to get them where they need to be. So I'm going to go Broncos, but this one I don't think is as easy as a lot of people are writing it off to be. All right, next we have Dolphins at Raiders.
Ooh.
So for this one, for me, is I think the Raiders' big test. I think this is they've had 2 really impressive wins so far against 2 teams that they weren't expected to win against.
Yep.
Now they're expected to win this game.
Yeah. Compared to the first 2 games they played.
Now, the first game was, by all accounts, a fluke. But it was a fluke win, and they played well enough to be in the position to get the fluke win.
Yeah.
Then the Steelers they backed it up with the Steelers game and went, oh no, they're actually playing well.
Yep.
this to me is the game where it's okay. Can you do it against when you are expected to win?
Yeah.
Can you do it? And I think, given that Tua is injured,
Yep.
The Dolphins are a good side, I just think that they are lacking a quarterback. So, like a quarterback who can take them to the playoffs.
Yeah,
I think that they are lacking a first-rate quarterback.
Well, they haven't been able to get any consistency with Tua.
No.
So, like, he's still trying to learn while also having injuries and things that just aren't going right. And then they don't have Fitzmagic anymore to come in when they need someone to just be stable.
Yeah.
And even though Fitzmagic was able to do that with them, he was not going to take them to the playoffs.
No.
So they're in this position now where the Raiders should come in and win this game.
They should. So I'm interested with what the Raiders do, because if they don't, then I think that's where we can put the line through the Raiders of, they're probably not making the playoffs this year. Like I know it's early for that, but to me that'll be the Raiders being the Raiders.
Well, but even if we don't necessarily put a line through them, it's going to back up the assumption that these first two wins have kind of almost been fluky.
Yeah.
More so than, wow, they're coming in and making a statement this year.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting.
It's an interesting game. Next up, we have two teams coming off heartbreaking losses. Yeah. Seahawks at Vikings. Both teams coming off literally last-second losses. Yeah. One missing a field goal and the other one letting Derrick Henry torture them. Yep. So I'm inclined to pick the Seahawks, because as the Vikings, I don't think the Seahawks have played two very good sides in their first two matchups, whereas in the Vikings have played a good side. They lost to, in their first game, a side that I don't think are particularly good.
No.
In the Bengals.
No,
and then
the only reason the Bengals got that win is because they have Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
And occasionally he can overcome all of the deficits of the rest of the team, but like that'll only happen once in a while. So.
And Cardinals, I think, are a good team, but they made a lot of mistakes and they basically handed the game to the Vikings on a platter. And if they didn't miss a field goal, they would have won it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go Seahawks because they've played the tougher teams. They've shown that they're a better side, but man, they need to fix that run defense. And if Cook is questionable, at the moment he's questionable. So if he doesn't play, I don't see them being able to throw to a victory with Cousins. I think the only way they can is if Cook plays and he's able to get the meters that Cook should be getting, but yards he should be getting, which I don't. But if he's injured, I don't know if he would be. So yeah.
No, I'm also going to go with Seattle, but the way that both of these teams have lost in the last week don't really give me confidence either way. I think the Vikings need to win this game for their season, for the sake of their season and their morale going forward. But I do see the Seahawks taking it, but I think it's going to be stressful. I think it's going to be like.
See, I think the Seahawks need to win this as well because
I mean, I do too. But the Vikings are 0-2.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. But I'm more meaning it. If the Seahawks lose this game, there's a real chance that they're 2 wins behind everyone else in their division.
I agree with you. The NFC West, you can't lose a game because everyone else in the division is most likely going to win their games. And that's the game of the NFC West. But I'm talking from a perspective of like team morale.
Yeah, starting a season 0-2. 0-3
for the Vikings. Yeah. I don't know how you can. I don't know how that's going to go for you. Yeah. But so that's the Seahawks need the win for the sake of their place in the NFC West for sure, because that division is, if you start losing, you're going to get left behind real fast.
Yep. All right. Next up, this is the game I'm looking forward to the most this week. I'm very excited for this game, and we have Mr. Tom Brady going to the home of this year's Super Bowl
to the futuristic $5 billion SoFi Stadium
to play the LA Rams. You know, there is an actual chance this year that the conference final and the Super Bowl could be played at the same building.
That would be fascinating. I'm very interested by this game because both teams are 2-0 going into this game. And I'm fascinated to see this version of the Rams led by Stafford and see what they can do because they've impressed me so far.
Yeah.
They've really impressed me so far with what they've been able to put together. Brady has, been doing his Brady stuff for the most part. Like I don't really have too many negatives going either way.
Yeah.
Really going into this one. What do you think?
Look, I'm leaning personally, I'm leaning towards the Bucs based solely on offense.
Yeah.
However, if Arnold gets a few good hits in and he's able to get a couple of sacks, this could turn ugly real quick because I don't love the Bucs defense.
I don't either, and I was actually going to bring that up. One of my favorite games from last year, even though it ended in heartbreak for me personally, was when they played the Chargers and Herbert went all up in there, went to Tampa Bay, and was like, "Oh, your defense is going to attempt to rush me. Your defense is going to attempt to get all up in my face and try to do things that are defense. Okay, I'm just going to zing a 50-footer over the top of everyone, and you guys have no way to stop it."
Yeah.
And there are things in their defense that if you can exploit it, and I think the Rams have a pretty good offense.
Yeah, and that's the thing by them going out and getting Stafford. And Stafford will be able to do that, something that Goff wasn't able to do. Well, Goff wasn't able to see, I can lob it 50 yards down the field because there's an open he's going to be open in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
I can lob it down the field.
Yeah.
Whereas in Stafford can see it.
Yeah.
And that I think is definitely going to help the Rams.
You've also got to take into account that the Rams have a pretty good defense.
Rams have an incredible defense.
The Rams are my defense on my fantasy team, and
no, Rams have an incredible defense. And like I said, this is the game I'm looking forward to the most all week. I think it's going to be the best game of the round all week. I think you can see I'm using Australian terms. I think this is the one that we're all going to talk about and go, what a game of football.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be. I think this is potentially going to be the most exciting game of the weekend.
I'm leaning Bucs, but by a walk-off field goal.
Okay, I have the Rams, but by essentially the same.
Yeah,
I have 10 seconds left. Stafford's got a Hail Mary.
Whereas I've got Brady's got 50 seconds to get in field goal range, and with one timeout, and it's like that's too much time. He's got too much time, and they've given him, and that's it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yep.
This next one I am fascinated by, but for probably the wrong reasons. Packers at 49ers. I keep going back and forth because the Packers have such an awful run defense.
Yeah.
However, the 49ers do not have a running back right now. So I don't know who to pick because Packers got awful in week one.
They were. They were, but I think everyone's reading way too much into that because no one else is looking at any of the other teams' week ones.
Yeah.
And going, they're ruined. They're done for.
Yeah.
It's over. It was not a good game, but the Saints in week one, horrific.
Yeah.
Bills in week one.
Well, Saints in week one were amazing.
Oh, sorry. Bills in week one were horrific. Saints in week two were horrific. But the Bills got destroyed.
Yeah.
And no one's like, their season's over. Oh my God.
Yeah. And I think Packers waking up in the second half of last game kind of made me go, okay, maybe they should be good. But again, it was against the Lions.
Yeah.
So this to me is going to be the biggest test for both teams of what are your credentials this year? Because again, you've got two teams who should be playoff, who should be fighting for a spot in that conference final. I mean, these last two games, all four teams, potentially two of them are going to be in the conference final.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah.
And you would assume, I mean, hell, the game we just talked about could be a preview of the conference final.
It could.
So
it really could.
I'm going to lean towards 49ers because of that run defense, even though I have no idea who they're actually going to give the ball to.
That's fair. I'm going to give it to the Packers because I think I don't trust the 49ers completely at this point. And also, to me, even though there's been a couple of jitters at the beginning of the season for them, I think you give the ball to Aaron Rodgers, and I'm going to trust that. Yeah. Like, I'm just going to trust that.
And next up we have, and last game, Monday night football, we have the Eagles at Cowboys. This to me is
this is the game I'm looking forward to the least.
This to me is Cowboys credentials game. This is Cowboys prove your credentials. Yeah. They kind of did against the Bucs. Last week I don't think they were particularly flash against the Chargers, but I also think the Chargers weren't particularly flash either.
Last week, to me, their performance wasn't what stood out. It was that the refs decided it was going to be the Flag Bowl. Yeah. Like that game didn't tell me enough about either team in terms of their actual playing ability because it was just so to me, I need to see both this week from both the Cowboys and the Chargers in their own respective games actually show me without all those discipline issues and everything, show me who you're going to be, because if you're going to be someone, they need to beat the Eagles. Yeah, exactly.
If Cowboys want to be genuine, and look, they're probably not going to be Super Bowl. They're definitely not Super Bowl contenders this year. But if they want to be playoff contenders, as in knock someone out of the playoffs and not just be the 7th seed or the 4th seed because they won their division, then I think they need to they need to win this game, especially against an Eagles team that has been good.
They've had their moments. Yeah.
Part of that, I don't know how much of that was week one. Other teams were bad in week one. The teams that didn't play anyone during preseason versus the teams that did. Teams that did were pretty good. Teams that didn't weren't very good.
Yeah.
I'm curious what this Cowboys team will be like against the Eagles. I'm going to pick Cowboys because they need to win it, and they'll be desperate. And if they don't, I'm never picking Cowboys for the rest of the season. Just saying that now.
They've got to earn it from you right now.
Yep,
otherwise,
this is it.
That's it. No, that's fair enough. And I think that the Cowboys, if they end up making it into the playoffs, but they make it in and their record is not great, they just kind of limped in, that's going to be a failure of a season.
Oh yeah.
They need to have
to me 10 wins is what they need. They need to get to 10 wins, and that would be a pass.
Yeah.
I don't think that's much better than a pass.
Especially with how Dak has looked coming back from his injury.
Yeah.
He's been looking pretty lights out, and the rest of the team needs to elevate and do something with it. Because at this point, if you don't, you're just wasting him.
Yeah.
I think he's very talented, and I don't particularly want to see the Cowboys succeed at anything. But I think he's talented, and I think this team needs to step up.
Yeah. So what do you guys think? How many of our picks were we completely dead wrong of? Are you going to go down into the comments and tell us what we got right and what we got wrong?
And why you disagree with us, why you agree with us. We would love to hear your thoughts and your picks and how you're doing in your fantasy leagues. If you have them, I'm currently 2-0. And
I'm currently 0-2. No, I'm 1-1. I'm 1-1, actually. Sorry. I'm 1-1.
I thought you were 1-1.
I'm 1-1.
But tell us all about it in the comments. Tell us what teams you support and who you're hoping to see take some wins this week. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us, listening to us ramble about our picks and just talk a bunch of football. We enjoy it. We hope you guys enjoyed it too. All of our links are down in the description if you want to find us on social media, and we will see you next time.